My wife chased a glamorous life and left our twins behind. Now she wants back in, but I showed her what she truly lost. My wife, Stephanie, a 42-year-old woman, and I, a 44-year-old man, have been married for 10 years and together for 12. We have 8-year-old twins who are the center of our world, or at least, I thought they were the center of both our worlds. About a year ago, my father was diagnosed with stage 3 leukemia. It came out of nowhere. One day, he was playing with the kids in the backyard. The next, he was in the hospital with doctors telling us he might not have much time left. The diagnosis changed everything for me. My parents have always been there for me, and now it was my turn to be there for them. My mother needed support too. She was completely overwhelmed trying to take care of my dad while managing their home and finances. Before my father's diagnosis, Stephanie and I had talked about eventually moving to a bigger city with more career opportunities. It was something we both wanted at the time, but it was always a someday plan, nothing concrete. After my dad got sick, I told Stephanie I couldn't leave, not with my father fighting for his life and my mother needing so much help. I needed to be there for them. I expected her to understand. At first, she did seem to understand. She hugged me when I broke down after particularly rough hospital visits, and took the kids when I needed to drive my parents to appointments. But as weeks turned into months, things began to change. Stephanie started bringing up the move again. She works in marketing and felt she was stagnating in our smaller city. She started sending me job listings from other cities talking about all the opportunities she was missing. I reminded her about my father's condition, but she suggested he could travel to visit us, completely ignoring how sick he was becoming with each round of chemo. The conversations turned into arguments, and the arguments became fights. We went from discussing things calmly to shouting at each other after the kids went to bed. She called me overly sensitive about my father's illness. I called her selfish for not understanding the severity of the situation. The tension in our house became unbearable. Then, last month, I came home from taking my father to a chemo session to find Stephanie practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. She had news. She'd been offered an upper management position at a marketing firm in a city 3 states away. The salary was nearly double what she was making now. I congratulated her, trying to muster some enthusiasm while my mind was racing. When did she apply for this job? Why hadn't she mentioned it to me? We'd been fighting about moving, but I never thought she'd go behind my back like this. When I asked her these questions, trying to keep my voice level, she became defensive. She hadn't told me because she didn't think she'd get the job. It was a long shot. She hadn't expected to be offered the position, but she had been offered it, and she had already accepted it. The fight that followed was like nothing we'd ever experienced in our marriage. Words were said that couldn't be taken back. I told her she had betrayed me by making such a massive decision without consulting me. She said I was holding her back, that she couldn't keep turning down opportunities because of my family issues. My family issues, that's what my dying father had become to her, an issue. Stephanie packed a bag that night and went to stay with her parents. I spent the night staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was the end of our marriage. The twins asked where their mother was the next morning, and I didn't know what to tell them. 3 days later, Stephanie came back. The only reason she returned was because of the kids. We sat down at the kitchen table after they went to bed and tried to talk things through. We both acknowledged that we still loved each other, but the fundamental problem remained. She wasn't willing to give up this job opportunity, and I wasn't willing to leave my parents when they needed me most. We reached what seemed like the only possible compromise. Stephanie would take the job and move, while I would stay with the kids and continue helping my parents. She would fly back every other weekend to see the children. It wasn't ideal, but it seemed like the only way forward that didn't involve divorce papers. The first month of our long-distance marriage was difficult but manageable. Stephanie would fly in late Friday night and leave Sunday evening. The kids were confused but adapted, as children often do. I handled all the day-to-day parenting, worked my full-time job, and continued supporting my parents. It was exhausting, but I pushed through. By the second month, cracks began to show. Stephanie's visits became shorter. She'd arrive Saturday morning instead of Friday night, claiming work obligations. Our phone calls became less frequent. When we did talk, the conversations were strained. She seemed distant, irritable, and often downright mean, picking fights about minor issues like how I dressed the kids or what I fed them for dinner. After a while, I stopped calling her altogether, waiting for her to initiate contact. Sometimes days would pass without a word from her. The kids noticed and asked why Mom didn't call anymore. I made excuses, saying she was busy with her new job, but I could see the hurt in their eyes. Then there was Amanda. Amanda was Stephanie's longtime friend, a bridesmaid at our wedding. I never particularly liked her. There was always something off about her that I couldn't quite place. She'd been married and divorced 3 times, each time to wealthy men, and seemed to pride herself on the substantial child support and alimony payments she received. She and Stephanie had been close years ago, but had drifted apart after Amanda moved away. As fate would have it, Amanda lived in the same state where Stephanie had taken her new job. When we had gone to help Stephanie move, Amanda had shown up to help, and I had hoped that perhaps she had changed. I was wrong. She quickly became Stephanie's primary social connection in her new city. This made me uneasy, but I tried to keep my concerns to myself to avoid another argument. During one of our increasingly rare phone conversations, Stephanie mentioned that Amanda had introduced her to a group of friends, all single mothers living off generous child support payments from their ex-husbands. The way Stephanie described these women, they viewed their ex-husbands as nothing more than cash machines. They took pride in how much money they'd extracted through their divorces and considered themselves independent women, despite their financial dependence on the men they'd left. I expressed my discomfort with Stephanie spending time with women who seemed to view marriage as a business transaction rather than a partnership. Stephanie defended them, saying I didn't understand their situations. She even laughed as she recounted stories of how they manipulated their ex-husbands. This was so unlike the woman I married that I hardly recognized her. Things came to a head during a particularly tense phone call. Stephanie was singing Amanda's praises, calling her strong and independent for raising her 2 kids on her own. I couldn't help but scoff at this characterization, knowing that Amanda's lifestyle was funded entirely by her ex-husbands. This triggered an explosive argument where months of frustration came pouring out from both sides. Stephanie accused me of being jealous of her success and newfound friendships. I countered that she had abandoned her family for a job and was now being influenced by women with questionable values. The call ended with Stephanie suggesting we separate. I had finally snapped. I couldn't hold back anymore. 6 days passed without any communication between us. I threw myself into caring for the kids and helping my parents, trying not to think about the state of my marriage. Then Stephanie called to say she was coming that weekend and bringing divorce papers with her. When she arrived, part of me wanted to fight for our marriage, to remind her of the life we'd built together. But looking at her, I saw a stranger wearing my wife's face. The woman I'd fallen in love with, who had cried with me when my father was diagnosed, who had held my hand through the birth of our twins. She was gone. The divorce process was surprisingly straightforward. Our state didn't have a waiting period, and we agreed on most issues without much debate. I would keep the house, and we would have joint custody of the twins, with them living primarily with me while Stephanie continued her bi-weekly visits. We verbally agreed that when the time came to sell the house, we would split the proceeds. The papers were signed within a week. Explaining the situation to the twins was one of the hardest things I've ever done. They didn't understand why their mother had moved away, and now they couldn't grasp why their parents weren't married anymore. I did my best to assure them that both Stephanie and I still loved them very much, and that would never change. I'm not sure they believed me. After the divorce, our routine remained largely the same. Stephanie would visit every other weekend, taking the kids to her parents' house during her stay. Occasionally, we would all spend some time together for the sake of the kids, but mostly we avoided direct interaction. The children were confused but gradually adjusted to going between homes during her visits. I tried to focus on the positive. My father's treatment was showing promising results. The kids were doing well in school despite the upheaval at home, and I was managing to keep everything together, even if just barely. But every night, after putting the kids to bed, I would sit alone in our living room, surrounded by family photos from happier times, and wonder how we had ended up here. It's been a month since the divorce was finalized, and I'm still trying to adjust to this new reality. The past few weeks have maintained the same routine, taking care of the kids, helping my parents, working, and trying to hold it all together. My father's last round of tests showed some improvement, which has been the one bright spot in all of this. Last night, something unexpected happened. I was just about to go to bed when my phone rang. It was Stephanie. At first, I thought it might be about the kids, but when I answered, all I heard was sobbing. She was absolutely hysterical, barely able to form coherent sentences. It took several minutes for her to calm down enough to speak. What she told me left me stunned. She said she had made the biggest mistake of her life by pushing for the divorce. She admitted that she had been completely wrong about everything: the job, the move, her new friends. The job that had seemed so promising was falling apart. The company had greatly exaggerated its financial stability during the recruitment process, and they were now implementing significant pay cuts. Stephanie was earning barely more than she had back home, despite the higher cost of living in her new city. But that wasn't what had prompted her call. Stephanie confessed that after our divorce, Amanda and her friends had encouraged her to start dating again. They set her up on blind dates and helped her create profiles on dating apps. She admitted to having several casual relationships that left her feeling empty and pathetic. She said none of these men made her feel the way I had, even during our worst fights. When she complained to her friends about feeling lonely, they dismissed her concerns, telling her it would pass and she just needed to find the right guy. But Stephanie had begun to see through their facade. These weren't strong, independent women, they were bitter and manipulative, using men for financial gain while pretending to be self-sufficient. She missed our children terribly. The brief weekend visits weren't enough, and she hated returning to her empty apartment every Sunday night. She missed our home, our routine, even my parents. She realized too late that what she had thrown away wasn't just a marriage but a family and a support system that had taken years to build. As Stephanie poured her heart out, I felt a complex mix of emotions wash over me. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay, but a stronger part remembered the months of fights, the secret job application, the divorce papers delivered without warning. I remembered sitting with our confused children, trying to explain why Mommy wasn't coming home anymore. When she finally asked if there was any chance we could try again, if I would consider reconciliation, I couldn't hold back. I told her that she had made her choice when she took that job, and again when she served me with divorce papers. I reminded her how she had belittled my concerns about my father, how she had laughed about her friends' manipulation of their ex-husbands. I told her she should turn to Amanda and her new friends for support, not me. I said that the kids and I were doing fine without her. In a moment of pure anger, I even threatened to seek full custody, knowing how much that would hurt her. Then I hung up and blocked her number. Almost immediately, I regretted the harshness of my words, but I couldn't bring myself to unblock her for weeks. I had been holding everything together for everyone else. My sick father, my worried mother, my confused children. For once, I couldn't summon the strength to be the bigger person. The following day, I received a call from Stephanie's parents. They've always been kind to me, even through the separation and divorce. Her father didn't mince words. He told me that while he understood my anger, Stephanie was in a terrible state. She regretted everything and was talking about quitting her job and moving back, even without any guarantee of reconciliation. He said my response had seemed designed to punish her rather than address the situation. His words hit home. Had I been needlessly cruel? Was I trying to punish Stephanie for hurting me? I didn't have clear answers. All I knew was that in 2 days, Stephanie would be arriving for her regular visit with the kids, and I had no idea how to face her after our last conversation. The twins were excited about their mother's upcoming visit, blissfully unaware of the turmoil between us. As I watched them make drawings to give to her, I wondered what the right thing to do was, not just for me, but for all of us. My father, despite his weakened state, noticed my distraction during my latest visit. He didn't ask for details, but he reminded me of something he told me when Stephanie and I first started dating, that life is too short to hold on to anger, but also too precious to spend with people who don't value you. I've been turning those words over in my mind ever since. Now, I'm sitting here the night before Stephanie's visit, trying to decide how to move forward. Should I remain firm in my decision to keep her at a distance? Should I consider her regrets and the possibility of reconciliation? Or should I focus solely on establishing a healthy co-parenting relationship for the sake of our children? I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for the first time in months, I'm allowing myself to acknowledge that there are no simple answers here, no clear villains or heroes, just people who made mistakes, trying to figure out how to move forward. Stephanie arrived yesterday for her weekend with the kids. From the moment she walked through the door, it was clear she had been having a very hard time. Her clothes hung loosely on her frame, and there were dark circles under her eyes. The children ran to her, as they always did, but even their excitement couldn't mask the tension in the air. After the initial greetings, I expected her to take the kids and leave for her parents' house as usual. Instead, she asked if we could talk after the children went to bed. I agreed, though with considerable reluctance. The day passed slowly. We maintained a facade of normalcy for the children's sake, occasionally exchanging necessary information about school projects and soccer practice. I took the opportunity to run some errands while Stephanie played with the twins, grateful for the chance to escape the house for a few hours. When I returned, Stephanie had prepared dinner, something she hadn't done since before the divorce. The twins were delighted by this return to old routines, chattering excitedly throughout the meal, while Stephanie and I ate in relative silence. After putting the kids to bed, We sat at the kitchen table, 2 cups of coffee between us that neither of us touched. Stephanie started the conversation by asking if I would give her a chance to talk. Her voice was steady but quiet, as if she was working hard to maintain composure. What followed was one of the most honest conversations we've had in years. She apologized for her selfishness over the past 2 years, acknowledging that the problems in our marriage began long before her job offer. She admitted that she had prioritized her career ambitions over our family's needs, dismissing my concerns about my father's health as an inconvenience rather than the crisis it was. She spoke about her time away, describing the emptiness of her apartment and the hollow interactions with her new colleagues. She confessed that she had tried dating other men, but each attempt only reinforced what she had thrown away. The lifestyle that Amanda and her friends glorified, moving from relationship to relationship, using people and discarding them, wasn't bringing them happiness, just temporary distraction from their loneliness. Then she told me something that took me by surprise. She had given notice at her job and was moving back to be closer to the children. She had already found an apartment not far from our house and had lined up several job interviews in the area. She wasn't asking to move back in or for us to reconcile. She just wanted to be present in our children's lives again. She also addressed my threat to seek full custody. Her voice trembled as she asked me not to pursue that route, promising that she would be a better mother going forward. I assured her that I had spoken out of anger and had no plans to limit her access to the children, as long as she remained committed to their well-being. As the conversation drew to a close, Stephanie apologized one final time. She called me a good man and promised to work on becoming a better person, not just for the kids, but for herself. There was a bittersweet quality to her words. I couldn't help but wish she had come to these realizations while we were still married, before so much damage had been done. She left shortly afterward, taking the twins to spend the night at her parents' house as planned. Standing in the doorway, watching their car disappear down the street, I felt an unexpected sense of closure. The anger that had been driving me for months seemed to have dissipated, replaced by a quiet acceptance of our new reality. The next day, when Stephanie brought the kids back, our interaction was civil, even warm at moments. We discussed practical matters related to her move and how we would handle the transition with the children. For the first time since our separation, I felt like we were truly putting the kids first, rather than using them as pawns in our personal conflict. As she was leaving, Stephanie mentioned that she had cut ties with Amanda and the other friends who had encouraged the divorce. She wasn't blaming them for her decisions. She took full responsibility for those, but she recognized their negative influence on her thinking and priorities. I've spent the past few days reflecting on everything that's happened. I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully trust Stephanie again, and I'm not sure that reconciliation is the right path for us. But I do know that the anger I've been carrying has been weighing me down, affecting my health and my ability to be present for my children and my parents. My father's condition has stabilized, though the doctors warn that leukemia is unpredictable. Watching him fight for his life has put many things in perspective. Life is too short for prolonged bitterness, even when the hurt is justified. For now, I'm focusing on establishing a healthy co-parenting relationship with Stephanie. The children deserve parents who can work together for their benefit, even if those parents are no longer married. It won't be easy, and there will undoubtedly be setbacks along the way, but it feels like a step in the right direction. It's been 4 months, and much has changed in that time. Stephanie did indeed follow through on her plan to move back. She quit her job, found an apartment about 15 minutes from our house, and secured a position at a local marketing firm. The salary is less than what she was making before, but the shorter commute gives her more time with the kids. We've established a new custody arrangement. The twins now spend equal time with both of us, alternating weeks. The transition was smoother than I expected. The kids actually seem to enjoy having 2 homes, treating it almost like an adventure rather than a disruption. They're resilient in ways I never imagined possible. Stephanie's parents and I have fully reconciled. They actually apologized for their intervention after her phone call, explaining that they had reacted out of concern for their daughter without fully understanding the situation. They've been incredibly supportive of both of us as we navigate this new normal, often helping with childcare when work schedules conflict. As for Stephanie and me, our relationship remains decent, but not what anyone would call friendly. We communicate efficiently about the children and logistical matters, but we don't share personal details or spend time together beyond what's necessary for co-parenting. There's no animosity between us anymore, just a quiet acknowledgement that our paths have diverged. My father's health has improved significantly. He's in remission, though the doctors are cautiously optimistic, rather than declaring him cancer-free. He has more energy these days and has returned to many of his normal activities, including spending time with his grandchildren. Watching him bounce back has been the greatest gift in all of this. I've started making some changes in my own life as well. With more time to myself during the weeks when the kids are with Stephanie, I've joined a local community group that does volunteer work. It gets me out of the house and connecting with new people, which has been refreshing after months of isolation. The house that once felt too empty without Stephanie and the kids is now a space that belongs truly to me. I've rearranged furniture, painted walls, and generally made it reflect my own tastes. When the kids are here, it's filled with their energy and chaos, but when they're gone, it's become a peaceful retreat, rather than a reminder of what's missing. Stephanie has maintained her distance from Amanda and her other friends from the city. She mentioned once during a pickup that Amanda had reached out several times trying to reconnect, but Stephanie had declined. It wasn't said with any drama or as a point of pride, just a matter-of-fact update about a shared acquaintance. We did have one difficult conversation about selling the house, which had been part of our verbal agreement during the divorce. After much discussion, we decided to postpone any decisions until the kids are a bit older. The stability of keeping their childhood home seems more important than the financial benefits of selling right now. Looking back at the past year, it's hard to reconcile how much has changed. A marriage ended, a father nearly died, lives were uprooted and rearranged. Yet somehow, all of us, myself, Stephanie, the twins, my parents, have landed in a place that works. It's not perfect, not what we planned, but functional and increasingly content. I won't pretend there aren't still difficult days. Watching the twins leave for a week with their mother never gets easier. Holidays and birthdays carry a certain weight they didn't before. And sometimes, late at night, I still find myself looking at old family photos, wondering about the parallel universe where things worked out differently. But those moments grow less frequent as time passes. Most days, I'm focused on the present, helping with homework, attending soccer games, preparing meals, visiting my parents. The routines of daily life that once seemed shattered beyond repair have reformed into new patterns. If there's any wisdom I've gained from all this, it's that life rarely follows the path we expect, and people rarely behave exactly as we think they will, including ourselves. The best we can do is adapt, try not to carry the weight of past mistakes too heavily, and remember that there are always multiple versions of every story. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, building a life that works for my children and me, finding moments of joy where I can, and looking forward rather than back whenever possible.